one, and we're doing a live video right now on Amazon weekly chart. All right, back to the weekly chart. What we're going to do with SMF Pro Traders is we did video 1 and video 2. This is Google Weekly. This is Amazon Weekly. Both had their pullbacks, and both had declining weekly moving averages. And the difference between the two is that they had characteristics of a rising 20-week during their pullbacks. And because of the rising 20-week moving average, that's why their 4-week, both had 4-week consolidations right here. Both had weekly breakouts. And why was one stronger than the other? Amazon was stronger than the other because the 10-week flattened out here. And whereas during that double week breakout on Google, the 10-week kept declining in price. And both, why did that weekly moving average hold? Was because of the rising 20-week on both. Except Amazon's rising 20-week was much more stronger than that 20-week on Google. Why? Because Google dropped to $109. That's why. Off of the high. Great short, people. I just want you to know that on these weekly SMF bear and bull trends is that Amazon 20-week, even though that we pulled back and we shorted it, both, is that the weekly moving averages, the weekly consolidations here held because that even though the 10-week was going down, the 20-week is much more prominent because there's 10 weeks between the two, but you kept rising in the 10-week moving average, and Google's 10-week moving average was rising slightly, and that kind of flattened off, but it wasn't rising nearly as much as the Amazon. And even though that was still rising, the 10-week is where we really put our emphasis on. It was declining. That's why that double week had to pull back to support. Where Amazon's weekly breakout held the highs here and consolidated that one. And Google, because of the declining 10-week, pulled back to test half of the SMF weekly Pro Trader bar. And as it flattens out and turns around, that means that it will get stronger like the Amazon trade. And every shakedown, drop down to support is to be aggressively bought, because the difference between the two trends right now in the weekly is that this one is stronger and this one is working on getting stronger. And you need to know the characteristics of these trends. And basically, I'm not going to go into all of the other indicators. They already know that, the SMF Pro Trading students. So I just want you to know that as we flatten out here, like this one is going upward slightly, when that one does it, we're very aggressive. And if this is a weekly doji, that means that we would gap up. We would break out that high there. If we break that high out, that means that 10-week is going to flatten out, and we're going to be big-time buyers. Say I've been given a gap. That's the difference between the two weekly trends. And once again, stockmarketfunding.com, home to the professional, home to the investor, and home to everyone alike.